the City Commissioner. Mr. Weldon, could you start, and then Mr. Weaver?
I certainly can. Before running for office, I believe one should prove their commitment to Winter Park through volunteer service. For me, that included 3 city boards under 3 different mayors over 10 years before being elected to the commission in 2016. Also, I have proven that I keep my word. Every promise I made in 2016, I have kept, including stopping large-scale apartments, fiscally conservative budgeting, improved parks, more green space, 55 acres in fact, and a plan to speed up undergrounding for our power lines with no new taxes or debt. I have proven I get results that matter to our residents. Winter Park has never been more beautiful, more enjoyable, and more financially secure for a reason. I am proud to have contributed to our many accomplishments. Please see votepeteweldon.com, plug, and look forward to adding further to the qualities that make Winter Park special. I believe I have proven that an experienced, positive, and professional leadership for Winter Park deserves your vote. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Todd Weaver. Thank you for this opportunity to tell you who I am and why I'm running. I'm running because I bring a breadth and depth of experience and a unique skill set to this job. I have 40 years of hand-on experience in many areas. I'm a UCF mechanical and aerospace engineer. I have a general contractor's license, and I've been a developer. I have 2 successful and ongoing businesses here in Winter Park, which I founded. Because I am capable of independent and creative thinking, I have multiple patents. Currently, one of my companies, True Grit Traction, donates product to the city of Winter Park on an as-needed basis. Weaver Engineering designed the Tornado for the Twister attraction at Universal Studios, 2 robots for underground pipe inspection, pilot and entertainment simulators, solar power and water heating systems, and other projects. I've designed 2 factories for clients in the past. I've also designed hundreds of commercial aircraft components over the past 20 years. I'm also a skilled welder, machinist, carpenter, plumber, electrician, stonemason, auto mechanic, and harmonica player. I'm a beekeeper and a vegetable gardener. I served 6 years on our Winter Park Lakes and Waterways Advisory Board, the last 2 as its chairman. Earlier, I served that same function for Orange County. Because of these board appointments and my many volunteer efforts, I developed productive working relationships with a lot of our staff. Thank you.
All right, so the next question is, the vision of the city of Winter Park reads, Winter Park is...
Okay. Could you repeat
Yeah,
that?
of course, I'll repeat the question.
Thank you.
Could you speak to the importance of arts and culture in Winter Park and what you will do to support the arts if elected to City Commission?
Well, currently I do volunteer work at Casa Feliz in Pulaski, and I'm a big supporter of the arts. I've been a 5-year season ticket holder for Dr. Phillips' Broadway series. When people visit me, I take them to the Cornell and the Morse Museum and other venues, but I have arts in my background. My mother taught me such things, and I appreciate classical music and all these wonderful opportunities that we have to participate and share our culture and arts here.
All right, Mr. Weldon, same question.
The city of Winter The city of Winter Park took giant strides when the visioning process was completed and approved with my vote in 2016. Since then, the city has established the Arts and Culture Alliance of over 20 local arts and culture organizations now working together to leverage their individual contributions as part of a citywide effort to promote the depth and breadth of our cultural assets. I strongly support this initiative as a commissioner and as a private citizen. I have already been a leader in this area, adding the Blue Bamboo Center for the Arts to our list of outside organizations receiving city funding. Thursday performances at the Blue Bamboo are free, thanks to funding from the city that I helped to secure. I encourage everybody who hasn't been there to check out the Blue Bamboo. I have already gotten results in tangibly adding to our arts and culture focus, and I'm looking to do more.
So in your opinion, what does it mean to build a healthy and sustainable future for all generations, and what will you do as City Commissioner to ensure Winter Park fulfills this vision? Mr. Weldon, we'll start with you.
Yes, I could spend literally an hour on this question. From leading our focus on forestry management 10 years ago, beginning 10 years ago, to our focus on our new pedestrian and cycling paths, to my recent vote for a contract that will deliver 7% of our electric power from large-scale solar fields, I have a track record of getting results that make our city healthier and more sustainable. Virtually every aspect of our city focuses in one way or another on health and sustainability. I voted to approve the medical arts zoning so Advent Health can expand its services to meet the emergency and medical needs of our residents. I voted to approve the Center for Health and Well-Being project nearing completion next to the Advent Winter Park Hospital that adds a state-of-the-art, innovative health resource unique in Central Florida, if not the Southeast. We continue to make great strides in this area. I walk the talk on this subject and will continue to study health and sustainability initiatives in other cities to understand what works and what can work in Winter Park. Again, I am getting results that matter to you.
Mr. Weaver?
22 years ago, I designed my first solar water heating system for my home, and since then I've done about 25 others for friends and neighbors and clients. A decade ago, I started designing solar PV systems for energy generation, and last year I designed the very first solar electric system for a home in Mariposa County, California, utilizing the first Tesla battery. I'm an avid cyclist. I've been promoting bike paths and bike lanes most of my career. I believe we are at a dead end with gasoline-powered engines, and I'm encouraged to see the city setting up electric chargers for electric vehicles. I like the fact that I see a lot of the Rollins students using scooters rather than jumping in big cars and filling up our roads. So we're making strides, but educating the public and changing the culture is important. I've been doing that for a long time. Thank you.
What do you believe to be the most significant issues facing the city of Winter Park in 2019, and what is your position on those issues? Mr. Weaver, if you'd start, please. One more time. Okay, one more time. What do you believe to be the most significant issues facing the city of Winter Park in 2019, and what is your position on those issues?
Well, there are three things that come to mind. Transparency in our government is one of those. I feel that a lot of sessions that we have, especially concerning development, and specifically Orange Avenue, have been closed to the public. And we're all stakeholders in this city, and I read the city manager's report from January 14th, and he said that the staff has met with major shareholders on the Orange Avenue corridor to develop the new mixed-use code standards. And I think all of us need to have a part in that and not just political allies of the mayor. The next thing is we have to look at our future transportation needs, and I've been on the League of Women Voters Transportation Committee for about a year now, and we're pushing to make a link to Orlando Airport to increase ridership and promote that. I've also worked with Lynx and Buddy Dyer's staff on coordinating the schedules at the Sand Lake Station for that link to the airport, and we are making some strides, but loading up our roads with more cars and more development isn't a solution, it's part of the problem.
All right, Mr. Weldon.
Yes, 2019, biggest problem. I believe it's overcoming the continued irresponsible political efforts to kill or restart the Library and Event Center project. Per the city manager and all professionals involved, the project represented to Winter Park residents will be delivered within the $30 million budget promised to the voters. Claims that the project is over budget are motivated purely for political reasons by Todd Weaver and a small group of activists who have always opposed the project. This is not about a political game. This is about the future of our city. Time for dissension has passed. The voters voted, the courts ruled, the project design was presented to the voters in 2017, and the design received final approval from the City Commission in September 2018 by a 4-to-1 vote. Mr. Weaver is proposing a restart and redesign. This is a political stunt and is reckless and irresponsible. Staff estimates the minimum cost to a project restart and redesign at $5 million in wasted taxpayer funds and a further delay in the start of the project for at least a year. A restart and redesign is also likely to result in legal action compelling the city to uphold the will of the voters in the court. All this is totally unacceptable. I offer positive leadership. I ask all Winter Park residents to come together in support of this world-class library and event center project to serve current and future generations of Winter Parkers. I look forward as a united community.
So moving on to the next question, what steps will you take to ensure the safety of pedestrians and bikers in the city of Winter Park? Mr. Weldon?
Yes, this is something that has been dear to my heart since I signed on in 2016. I voted to fund every pedestrian and cyclist initiative that has come to the City Commission and will continue to do so. The Denny Drive improvements add a wonderful new trail that, when finished, will run from the Whole Foods Center to Mead Garden, connecting to the Orlando Trail. This is real connectivity. We have also added a new trail from the train station to Fairbanks along the railroad right-of-way, and I'd like to see that happen on the north side of the railroad station as well, up at least to Webster. Design is complete, and the right-of-ways have been secured to start a new trail along St. Andrews Boulevard connecting to the Katy Way Trail. We will be adding trails also as part of the improvements planned for the 55 acres of new green space recently acquired in the Howell Branch Preserve. That's more than Central Park and the golf course combined. I have asked city staff to identify other areas where we have the right-of-way needed to add new trails that are safe for both pedestrians and cyclists. I look forward to identifying and funding these new opportunities.
Mr. Weaver?
Well, funding is key here to what my opponent just spoke about. Over the last 3 years, on 3 separate occasions each year, he proposed a millage rate reduction. At the same time, he voted with the majority on the commission to give one of his donors $1.2 million of tax money for his underground infrastructure at Rabadosh. Additionally, we had funding that was primarily from developers for our tree program. He states that homeowners were paying that. That's nonsense. It's not true. He sunsetted the Tree Preservation Board, so there's no citizen oversight. And irresponsible acts like this really are a detriment to funding for any of our bike paths or parks or anything going ahead in the future. As you know, I'm a proponent of bike paths and lanes. I believe we have some challenges with the Denning complete streets redo. We do have to modify some things, and the intersection at Fairbanks is especially troublesome. So we not only have to do these things, we have to educate staff and keep iterating till we find the perfect solution. Thank you.
Rollins students volunteer regularly with organizations like Keep Winter Park Beautiful. How will you ensure that we are keeping Winter Park beautiful, and what plans would you support to make the city more environmentally friendly? Mr. Weaver?
Yes, many cities around the country have recently banned plastic bags. I'm a proponent of that. I keep reusable bags in my car, and like most of you, I forget to bring them in the store half the time and have to load the groceries in the car out in the parking lot. But we have 40 years of landfill left in Orange County, and we have no way to recycle plastic anymore. China's refused to take our dirty plastics. India, most recently, has declined those, and they're all going in the landfill now. One of the other things that's filling up the landfill at a faster rate than plastics in our garbage are building debris. Developers keep knocking down structures and filling up our dwindling landfill supply. So I'm a proponent of getting rid of a lot of plastic packaging. I think we could all pick up our vegetables at Publix without having a styrofoam tray and a bunch of cellophane around it. And we have to start looking at things like that. We have to leave something for our children.
Mr. Weldon?
Yes, I am all for each of us being environmentally responsible and making our own decisions in that regard. Winter Park is more beautiful than it's ever been in history, and for a very good reason. Good decisions by experienced leaders. The way to keep Winter Park beautiful is to continue to fund the many programs we have already in place. As noted earlier, from leading our focus on forestry management 10 years ago, to our focus on new pedestrian and cycling paths, to my recent vote for a contract that will deliver 7% of our electric power from large-scale solar fields, I have a track record of getting real results that make our city healthier, more sustainable, and environmentally friendly. Our forestry management program alone assures a sustainable urban forest in Winter Park for generations to come, something I am very proud of. And I continue to look for successes in other locales that can be applied to Winter Park.
So Rollins has a plan to move our Cornell Fine Arts Museum and Crummer Graduate School of Business to the Lawrence Center property across from the Alphon Inn. Assuming we meet all the city codes, do you feel like these are projects you will support? If not, why? Mr. Weldon?
Yes, this is a very sensitive subject for a sitting city commissioner. It's difficult to prejudge development proposals in public as there are many legal issues involved. However, the potential move of the Crummer School and the museum, given what I know today, can be a win-win for both Rollins and the city. Many factors will have to be weighed, however, as this project is better defined. I'm excited for Rollins and the city to work out details that leverage all the most positive attributes of these concepts for both of us. I can say without question that moving the Cornell Fine Arts Museum to the north side of Fairbanks offers both Rollins and the city many benefits. Doing so puts two world-class museums at each end of our commercial corridor on Park Avenue, reinforcing the substance of our vision as a city of arts and culture. This location change can also reasonably be expected to increase awareness of and attendance at the Cornell Museum. These are great ideas, and I look forward to working with Rollins over the next several years to make them a reality.
Mr. Weaver?
We're a college town. I like that. I've been to Austin. I went to University of Florida. Love Gainesville. Love college towns. There's just a special vibe about that. The original plan for the Lawrence Center involved a modest size parking garage that Rollins wished to put on there. My opponent decided that it would be a good idea to raise that to 6 stories, violating our height limit, and it's on the record. I would totally go along with the original plan of the modest-sized parking garage that Rollins wanted to put in there, but residents across the street at the Alphon residences became very angry about this, and I agree with them. It was out of scale, but like you said in your question, if it's within the code and it doesn't require a lot of variances and so forth, and the height limits are good, I support it completely. It's Rollins land, and it's an appropriate place for that type of activity.
In looking at the city's budget, what components of the budget do you advocate to be increased, and what components do you advocate to be decreased? Mr. Weaver?
I'm just having a little trouble hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry. In looking at the city's budget, what components of the budget do you advocate to be increased, and what components do you advocate to be decreased?
Well, right now we have some difficulties with parks maintenance. The dog park keeps coming up. Back when I was on the Lakes Board in 2010, that was a hot issue. I inspected the park often because my mandate as chairman of that Lakes and Waterways Board was water quality. And the original designers of that park had a berm all along the lake shore that retained runoff from the park. The lawn was intact. You very rarely found any dog droppings at that point. Well, that's changed. The park is now mostly sand. It's heavily used. The berm is gone, and during rain events, everything that might be left in the sand washes into the lake, although the lake's big enough, and as some of you probably know, the solution to pollution is dilution, and that's the only thing that's keeping the lake healthy right now. But there's really no money in our park's maintenance budget right now to do anything, and in 2016, we don't know why yet, but the park's maintenance budget was reduced, and it has been for some time. So to develop this 55 acres that my opponent keeps talking about, it's going to take some money. And I love that park, and I'm glad we bought the land, but I don't think it's realistic right now to develop it in any way because we just don't have the funding.
Well, it so happens that we have $2 million in state funding to improve the 55 acres, and a study is underway now that I've been pushing our staff to finalize. So I believe Mr. Weaver may not have all the facts on that one, as well as some other things. I'm satisfied with the current allocation of our budgets. If we have to reallocate within those budgets for priorities like the dog park, I'm very open to doing that. We've been blessed, really, with revenue increases and disciplined financial management over the past several years. We've been able to invest in many things in Winter Park while continuing to build our unrestricted general fund reserves to provide for hurricane emergencies as well as opportunities that may come the city's way. This is huge. Our reserves have gone from 8 to 14 million, while we have developed a litany of investments in Winter Park that are available again at votepeteweldon.com. It's my strong suit as a financial professional and business executive. Given the revenue generation expected in the city over the next several years, I am by far the best candidate to assure our residents their money will be spent and invested wisely. I will continue to look at proposed spending plans with a critical eye, making sure that we do not waste your money and do not take unreasonable risk while we continue to invest in our trees, our parks, our amenities that make Winter Park so special.
What initiatives will you create and/or back that specifically support the community of West Winter Park? Mr. Weldon?
Yes, the community of West Winter Park has been changing for many, many years as a result of market forces. Many former residents have benefited from increases in their property values, while many of those who were renting their properties have been priced out of their homes. Our city has made great strides helping to manage this inevitable change. Over the years, the city purchased 40 lots and donated them to Habitat for Humanity, and those houses are now occupied. The city funded the Hannibal Square Land Trust, which now has 16 homes, and the prospect for more. Further, at my initiative, the city now allocates up to $25,000 in matching funds to restore homes worthy of historic designation. 2 such homes on the west side were so designated and preserved in the past 2 years with the benefit of funds from my initiative. We are doing something.
Mr. Weaver?
Well, I have friends on the west side. I often go to Mount Moriah Missionary Baptist Church, and I would invite any of you to participate. The music there is worth the service. But I became friends with a neighbor of mine, and she was recently ordained. Nadenia Thomas is her name. She was formerly a West Side resident on the traditional side. We live in the far west side now, out to the Lee Road corridor. And as I said recently, those people are being priced out of their homes, but thankfully neighborhoods like mine are still affordable, and we welcome that diversity.
What mechanisms should be used to solicit residents' comments and to report the city commissioner's actions to residents? And are there specific ways to reach Rollins students and other youth and young adults in the city? Mr. Weaver?
That was a multi-part question, so could we do those one at a time?
Yeah, absolutely. If you'd like to just answer the first question.
Could you repeat the first one?
The improved communication between the city commissioner's office and residents.
Well, the city commission doesn't really have an office. They share a single room, and I've met with several commissioners and the mayor over the years in that room. But like I said earlier, transparency has become a problem over the last 10 years during this administration and the last one. And I do believe there are a lot of closed-door sessions that should be open to the public, and certainly Rollins students should be involved in those. They are stakeholders in the city, and I don't know why we don't have better transparency, but I'm going to bring that to the commission.
Yes, just for the record, there are no closed-door sessions involving multiple members of the City Commission. It's against Florida law. It's called the Sunshine Law, and we all obey it. Excuse me, ma'am. Let's see. The students aren't going to like this answer, but I thought I'd give it rather directly. We have a great website, and we have tons of information on there that is very searchable and findable. It's not the city's job to engage you, it's your job to engage the city. There are no shortcuts. If you want to be informed, you need to act. City staff prepares voluminous reports available to the public on all issues coming before city boards and the city commission. These reports are available online several days before board and commission meetings. City staff, board members, and commission members, my cell phone's on the website, folks, call me, are always available to answer your questions. I encourage all those interested in their local government to get involved, to do the work required to become informed, not confused, and to contribute their knowledge and judgment as our community debates our policy issues important to all of us. Thanks.
All right. And the second part of the question, are there specific ways to reach Rollins students and other youth and young adults in the city? Mr. Weld, if you'd like to start with that one.
Rollins students can sign up. I think it's called City, Carolyn, what's it called? E-City, City News. Yeah, there are numerous public resources available for every resident and non-resident and student, and E-News. On the city's website, look at the bottom of the page. You can sign up for a litany of recurring information about board agendas, about minutes, about what's going on recreationally in our parks. It's virtually endless. Again, you've got to reach out. The city, we spend $600,000 a year of your money on all of this data and communications resources. And it's all out there, folks. Sign up and let us know what we need to add. Thanks.
So Mr. Weldon states a good point there. There are lots of things available to read. Unfortunately, Rollins students are usually busy with their studies, and I know when I was an engineering student, I barely had time to read a book on the side. So I don't know that a 400-page City Commission agenda is something that a Rollins student can practically read every 2 weeks. So going back to how the commission operates and how you interact with the commission, on 3 occasions I wrote to the City Commission over the last 2 years, and previously I've had these very polite conversations on email. And when Mr. Weldon became a commissioner, I received this very hostile response from him, and I just pushed it aside and didn't think about it anymore. A couple of months later, the same thing happened. Commissioner Cooper answered me, Mayor Leary answered me, all very politely. The third time was over the bowling alley property, and the last thing that Mr. Weldon said to me on email was, "If you don't like my judgment, run against me." So I took him up on it.
That may sound funny, but it's not true.
All right, so
Please provide it.
we are at the point where our student moderators are finished with their questions, and we'd like to open it up to audience questions. We will take those in the form of written questions on the cards provided. So if you will pass those towards the center of the aisles, we will collect those.
Did you happen to hear that, by the way? Good.
So first audience question. How are you planning to ease parking in downtown Winter Park? We'll start. Repeat. How are you planning to ease parking in downtown Winter Park? And we'll start with Mr. Weaver.
Ease, you said? E-A-S-E?
Well, the City Commission recently voted to expand our parking regulations. We now have a 750-foot limit for new development, and I think that's a little excessive for people, especially seniors, to walk that far from a parking spot. I didn't recommend that to the commission. We do have a parking issue, and I'm thankful that one of the changes to our parking code was to not allow any more retail to restaurant conversions unless the property owner or the restaurant can provide adequate parking. So we're starting to see more use of alternate vehicles. Like I said, the Rollins students, there's a lot of scooters around, and that's kind of cool. And I'd like to see the Lime bikes come to Winter Park too, the electric bicycles that they're using in Orlando. But honestly, the right thing to do is stop having reasons for putting cars on the street. We need to stop doing that and address concurrency when it comes to parking, our roads, our infrastructure, and so forth.
I always get a smile on my face when I agree with Todd. The opportunity for parking is going to continue to be somewhat challenging, but the future is going to bring us less demand. And I think the ride-sharing services, as well as the use of Sunrail and other technologies, will not add to our parking stresses. We'll have to see what happens if and when the Crummer School project comes our way in terms of parking demand and loads as well. But I don't see that there's a great need. All the parking studies we've done, in fact, and we spent a lot of money on parking studies, by the way, all the work that's been done studying our parking says that if you're willing to walk 100 feet or 100 yards, that it's pretty certain that you'll find a space within a reasonable amount of time. It's not a disaster that some people, I think, make it out to be. And I think we're in good shape today, and we'll continue to look at the changes that we've made in the past year that Mr. Weaver referred to and see how they pan out.
What does the new tree preservation ordinance allow residents that was not allowed before? Mr. Weldon, if you'd like to start.
Yes, there are two major changes in the tree ordinance, and it wasn't new necessarily. This dates back to 2007 and then 2012. In 2007, I recommended a change that was adopted that for the first time required replanting of a single 3-inch tree for the removal of a dead, dying, or diseased tree. And I think you can imagine that as trees live out their life, we didn't used to require a replacement on private property, and we do now. That alone over the years will assure that our canopy on private property grows. The other change we made was to remove fines that Mr. Weaver didn't, he doesn't support the removal of the fines. He thinks you should be fined to remove a tree to, let's say, add a swimming pool to your property. Now what we do is we require one replacement tree. If your tree removal is 24 inches or greater, it's 2 replacement trees. This has been successful. It has resulted in a continuing replanting of canopy on private property while it treats our residents and our property owners fairly.
Well, the truth about the tree ordinance and its evolution has everything to do with Mr. Weldon. So back in the day, the vast majority of fines for tree removals were paid by developers. All this about, you know, taking a tree out for your swimming pool, that's just nonsense. Very few homeowners ever had to pay these fines, and when we had a tree preservation board, a citizens advisory board, they would go out and look at sick and dead and dying trees and evaluate that, and almost never find a homeowner for such things. So we have this special thing called a canopy here, not the one out in Martin Luther King Park where they're removing the tree canopy. But we have this special thing, and that's our oak trees and other shade trees around Winter Park, and we need that board back. We need citizen input for our trees, and we need to modify the tree preservation ordinance accordingly. Right now it's not working. We still have to replant trees, and that funding's coming out of the general fund.
The Orange Avenue corridor is being eyed for new mixed-use zoning entitlements. What is the proper role of community and resident input in the process? Mr. Weaver? The Orange Avenue corridor is being eyed for new mixed-use zoning entitlements. What is the proper role of community and resident input in the process?
Well, the city manager's report from January stated that staff has been working with the major stakeholders on the Orange Avenue corridor, and that's basically 4 entities. The city has Progress Point, the Dimitri family has the southern part, contracts on multiple properties there that they'd like to redevelop. The Hollers have the northern part. Well, right in the middle of that, the Leary Group owns the old Thomas Lumber Center. So I've asked Mayor Leary to disclose that publicly 6 months ago. He has not. I believe that's a conflict of interest, and my opponent is complicit in that. We already have mixed-use standards that Hannibal Square and Winter Park Village were developed to, and they're called C2. It's a fairly high floor area ratio of 200%. Thankfully, the developer had small blocks to work with in Hannibal Square, and that place works. But we could have giant buildings with this new mixed-use code, and it's unknown to any of the public. 2 of the commissioners that I talked to know nothing about those standards. One of them has asked repeatedly at commission meetings about what the FAR is going to be, and the mayor won't talk about it. So I think we need some serious public meetings and often about this before we go forward. Traffic's going to be an issue, infrastructure's going to be an issue, and I don't want to put those costs when we upgrade things off to the citizens. The developers need to contain those costs and pay for that stuff themselves. Thank you.
As your leader, I will never fearmonger you at all. I'll tell you the truth, and I'll tell it to you straight. To call me complicit in a conflict of interest is frankly disgraceful. I volunteered my time for the past 10 years for this city, and I'm a little sick and tired of hearing it from Mr. Weaver. Let's talk about the facts. The facts are that the city has announced that it's going to stage public meetings beginning, I believe, in April on this very subject. Mr. Weaver and I have talked about this subject in other debates, and we agree primarily with the fundamental limitations that make sense for Winter Park. And those are based upon what we see in Hannibal Square and on Park Avenue. To fearmonger that someone who got rid of R4 zoning wants to put huge buildings on Orange Avenue is just irresponsible. Let's talk together as a community about what makes sense. I have no particular preset notions about what the best thing is, but I'll tell you, it's not going to be any more dense than what we have, for example, in Hannibal Square, if I do approve that at all. It depends on green space ratios, it depends on a lot of other things like concurrency, And we'll see what happens. I think it's important that the city of Winter Park have this discussion publicly and that we hear from the residents. We know some won't support it no matter what. That's understandable. But I want to hear from other people who have better ideas. Thanks.
In your opinion, is there any limit to how much land Rollins College can acquire? Mr. Weldon, we'll start with you.
Well, as a legal matter, there is no limitation on the amount of land that Rollins College can acquire. And there's no authority in the city government or the county government to so limit them. That is up to Rollins College. What the city controls is the use of land and the zoning. So if Rollins College wanted to buy more land and they wanted to use it for things that it was not currently zoned for, that's when the public process starts, and we would have to evaluate that. We as a city, not as a city commission, would have to evaluate that and understand how that may or may not fit with the long-term vision of the city. With that said, Mr. Cornwell, I know that there is no plans that Rollins currently has, that I have heard, that has anything to do with buying more land and expanding the college. And so we'll wait to see if that ever happens, I guess.
Well, I'm very encouraged with the new student housing plan. I know it's some people are sorry to see the existing building being knocked down, but the plans for this are really incredible. It maintains that open green space feel, a view of Lake Virginia, and I think it's an awesome project. And also, I know some people that live in College Quarter that are going to be thrilled to have some of the students off the street tying up parking areas and so forth. So I think Rollins has done a pretty good job, and I spoke with Grant not long ago about, well, he wasn't speaking to me personally, but our Rotary Club, and he tells us that they're not interested in expanding their student population. So I don't see that as a big problem, and like Mr. Weldon says, there's nothing the city commission or the state can do to prevent Rollins from expanding, but it doesn't seem like that's a critical issue at all right now.
Last question from the audience. The lakes are full of algae and are getting worse, largely due to fertilizer runoff from lakeside homes. What will you do to mitigate and solve this problem? Mr. Weaver?
Well, I would have to disagree that our lakes are full of algae. They're very clean. I work with Amy Giannotti, our wonderful city scientist and lakes manager, and I had to restore my lake, Lake Bell, about 20 years ago with my neighbors. We did have big floating mats of algae. I think what you're mistaking the algae for are called tossics. And they're a natural growth, usually due to nutrient loading from city streets and fertilizers from people's yards, but they're controllable. And if you do see algae blooms, it's usually seasonal and after a rain where you get an uptick in nutrient loading in a lake, but they're usually temporary. And honestly, we have 27 of the most cleanest lakes in all of Orange County, and I'm very proud of that. I'm proud of our city staff for doing so.
Ditto. I would also add that the city is, well, at least the commissioners, I believe, are aware of an effort to try to get some more help from Tallahassee on lake water management. And we'll be pursuing that in the near future and see if we can't get some more funding to even further improve the quality of our lakes. So I don't think it's a real issue right now, but I think we've got funding that's sufficient, and we have the prospect for some state funding that could, in fact, improve it even more.
All right, so before we wrap up, we're going to do one last minute where you guys both can provide closing remarks. We'll start with Mr. Weaver.
I'm not ready yet. As I stated earlier, I'm currently serving on the League of Women Voters Transportation Committee, and I meet with state and local transportation officials often to develop better mobility for our citizens. I believe that an in-depth plan for transportation is key in managing our growth responsibly. As you know, we have challenges in that sector. I will be part of the solution, not part of the problem. We have an aging infrastructure to seriously consider. I believe there's a better way to govern, and I have the background and temperament to achieve that goal. I believe we can achieve a better balance in the way we govern. I know good decisions form the basis for prosperity, not just for a day or for a year, but for a lifetime. My track record vouches for me. I can relate to the economic challenges of business owners. I trust you'll vote for the best qualified candidate on March 12th. Thank you very much.
I'm always looking behind the facade, working to understand and deliver tangible results that create value for our residents and our city. And I believe the evidence is clear that I've done that. VotePeteWeldon.com. I'm endorsed by 5 former mayors, including our current mayor, and Commissioner Sarah Sprinkle, and over 140 women leaders and moms for a very good reason. I've proven that you can trust me to protect Winter Park and to make smart, responsible decisions on your behalf. I ask the voters to look behind the campaign facade, to look for the substance of what each candidate has proven they offer you and our city, and I ask for your vote. Thank you very much.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. Please give a round of applause to our student leaders for